Have you ever wondered why the most loyal, loving, and selfless people often find themselves betrayed? Why do those who give their hearts so fully, who offer unwavering trust and devotion, still end up being the ones left behind? We like to believe that relationships follow a moral order, that goodness is rewarded, and that love given freely will be returned in kind. But reality tells a different story. The world is filled with tales of devotion met with deception, of promises broken, and of hearts shattered despite the purity of their intent. And so the question lingers: if goodness were enough, if love were a simple exchange of effort for loyalty, then why does betrayal exist at all? This question is not just about infidelity, it is about the deeper nature of human connection. It forces us to examine whether our assumptions about love are built on truth or on comforting illusions. The answer is not simple, nor is it easy to accept. But as we peel back the layers, we may come to see infidelity in a way we never have before. We are taught from an early age that life operates on principles of fairness. If we are kind, we will be treated kindly. If we are loyal, we will receive loyalty in return. This belief is comforting, but it is also deeply flawed. The world does not function like a moral ledger, tallying virtue and rewarding it accordingly. Relationships, no matter how intimate, do not obey the laws of justice. Love is not a transaction, yet many approach it as if it were, a silent agreement that effort, devotion, and sincerity will be reciprocated in equal measure. But if this were true, betrayal would be a rare occurrence, reserved only for those who have failed in some way. Instead, we see time and again that even the most selfless and devoted partners are not immune to deception. Perhaps the problem lies in the assumption that fairness governs the human heart. But the heart is not governed by justice, it is governed by desire, by fear, by its own contradictions. It does not cheat because it has weighed another person's goodness and found it lacking. It cheats because it is restless, because it is tempted, because it is searching for something it cannot even name. When we believe in the fairness of love, we set ourselves up for disillusionment. We tell ourselves that if we give enough, love will be safe. That if we are patient enough, loyal enough, understanding enough, then betrayal will have no place. And yet, history, literature, and life itself tell a different story. Kings have abandoned queens who would have died for them. Poets have written sonnets for lovers they later deceived. Even those who once swore undying faithfulness have, in a moment of weakness or recklessness, shattered what they swore to protect. It is not that goodness is worthless. It is that goodness alone does not guarantee anything. Love, for all its beauty, does not operate under a system of justice. And once we accept this, we can begin to search for an answer that lies beyond simple fairness. If betrayal is not a punishment for inadequacy, then what compels someone to cheat? The answer lies not in the person who is wronged, but in the mind of the one who betrays. Infidelity is rarely a simple act of malice or cold calculation. It is, more often, a symptom of something deeper, a dissonance between what a person has and what they believe they need. Desire and commitment do not always reside in the same place. The human mind is capable of holding contradictory impulses at once, loving one person while yearning for another, cherishing stability while craving chaos. To understand infidelity, we must recognize that people do not always betray because they lack love, but because they lack something within themselves. For some, cheating is an escape from routine, from responsibility, from the weight of being truly known. The thrill of something new offers the illusion of freedom, the intoxicating sense of being untethered from expectation. But this pursuit is often a chasing of ghosts, an attempt to fill an emptiness that another person cannot truly resolve. For others, infidelity is an act of self-sabotage. There are those who, when faced with real love, cannot accept it. They fear being fully seen, fear the depth of intimacy that requires vulnerability. In response, they destroy what they claim to cherish, choosing chaos over closeness, because ruin is familiar in a way that stability is not. Still, others cheat because they are always searching, always restless. To them, the idea of permanence feels suffocating, and no matter how devoted a partner may be, it is not enough to quiet the hunger for novelty. What they do not realize, or perhaps refuse to confront, is that this hunger is insatiable. It is not rooted in the shortcomings of their partner, but in their own inability to find fulfillment in what is already in front of them. If love were only about goodness, If relationships were only built on fairness, then none of this would make sense. But human nature is not governed by simple equations. People cheat not because they have found something better, but because they are chasing something they do not understand. And so, the faithful are left asking questions, searching for logic where there is only contradiction. The answer is not in them, nor in what they did or did not do. It is in the mind of the betrayer, in the conflicts they have not resolved, in the spaces they have not yet learned to fill. There is an uncomfortable truth about human nature, one that is difficult to accept but impossible to ignore. Sometimes, goodness itself can become invisible. What is stable can be taken for granted. What is certain can be overlooked. And in some cases, what is unwaveringly kind can be seen not as a gift, but as a given. The idea of being too good in a relationship seems absurd. After all, how could devotion, loyalty, and selflessness ever be a fault? But the paradox is that, for some, the very security of a loving and predictable partner dulls the sense of urgency that passion thrives on. When there is no threat of loss, no struggle for affection, no fear of abandonment, some people begin to crave the unpredictability they no longer feel. This is not because goodness is undesirable. It is because some minds mistake security for stagnation. They have been conditioned to associate love with uncertainty, to equate emotional turbulence with intensity. They seek the rush of the unknown, the excitement of something just out of reach, and in doing so, they betray not because they lack love, but because they do not know how to exist in its steady presence. There is also the matter of the self, how people perceive themselves in the presence of unwavering goodness. Some feel unworthy of it, unable to accept love that does not demand suffering or sacrifice. For them, a partner who is unconditionally good exposes their own inadequacies, forcing them to confront parts of themselves they would rather ignore. Instead of rising to meet this love, they destroy it, choosing escape over reflection. Then there are those who, rather than feeling undeserving, become entitled. The comfort of a good partner makes them believe they are above consequence, that no matter what they do, they will be forgiven. They test the boundaries of love, pushing further each time, mistaking patience for weakness and kindness for submission. And so they cheat, not because they are seeking something better, but because they have come to believe they can have everything without losing anything. The paradox of being too good is not that goodness drives people away, but that it reveals who they truly are. It separates those who can embrace love in its purest form from those who must distort it to feel alive. Some are ready for that kind of love. Others, despite having it, will betray it in search of something they themselves do not understand. If betrayal is not a reflection of the betrayed, if it is not a response to inadequacy or failure, then what is it? The answer is not found in the one who remained faithful, but in the one who chose to stray. People do not cheat because of who their partner is. They cheat because of who they are when they are with them. Infidelity is not just an act. It is a statement, sometimes conscious, sometimes subconscious, about the way a person perceives themselves within a relationship. A person who cheats does not merely seek another body, another experience, another moment of passion. They seek another version of themselves, one that is not bound by the expectations, responsibilities, or self-image that their primary relationship has created. For some, cheating is an attempt to reclaim power. In a relationship where they feel too seen, too safe, or too predictable, they may seek to redefine themselves by stepping outside of it. They convince themselves that they are not confined to the role of the devoted partner, that they are still capable of recklessness, of choice, of destruction. It is not their partner's goodness that drives them away. It is their own need to prove that they are not defined by it. For others, infidelity is a way of avoiding a deeper truth, that they are unprepared for the kind of love that requires presence, consistency, and accountability. To truly love someone in a lasting way is to be vulnerable, to surrender to a kind of stability that is both comforting and terrifying. Those who are not ready for this will sabotage it, not because they wish to lose it, but because they do not know how to exist within it. And then there are those who cheat simply because they can, because they have convinced themselves that the loyalty of another is a permanent fixture rather than a choice that must be nurtured. These individuals do not betray out of deep personal struggle, nor out of fear of commitment. They do so because they have never truly considered the weight of their actions, nor the depth of what they are dismantling. The final, Hard truth is that being good does not prevent betrayal. Nor does it cause it. The faithful suffer not because they lacked anything, but because the one they loved lacked something within themselves. Infidelity is not about fairness, nor is it about fault. It is about a person revealing, through their actions, what they value, what they fear, and what they are incapable of sustaining. Betrayal is often framed as a wound inflicted by another, a loss suffered at the hands of someone who did not value what they had. But in truth, it is also a revelation, a stripping away of illusions, a forced confrontation with the reality of human nature. It is painful, but it is also clarifying. When someone is cheated on, their first instinct is often to look inward, to question what they lacked, what they could have done differently. But this is the wrong question. Infidelity is not about insufficiency. It is about incompatibility between the depth of one person's love and the other's ability to receive it. Some people are ready for stability, for trust, for the quiet strength of love that does not waver in the face of temptation. Others crave the uncertainty that comes with the unknown, mistaking fleeting excitement for something more profound. They do not betray because they have found someone better. They betray because they are incapable of seeing what they already had. The hardest lesson to accept is that goodness does not guarantee loyalty. The right person will not stay faithful because they are afraid of losing you. They will stay faithful because, in their eyes, there is nothing to seek beyond what they have found in you. The difference between those who cheat and those who do not is not just self-control, but self-awareness. It is the ability to recognize that love is not about endless novelty, but about deepening what already exists. This understanding does not erase the pain of betrayal. It does not undo the sense of loss, nor does it make the questions disappear overnight. But it does offer something more valuable than answers. It offers clarity. The betrayal was never a reflection of your worth, but of their own limitations. And in that realization, there is freedom. The only real loss is time spent questioning your own value over the choices of someone who was never ready for what you had to offer. Love, when given to the right person, does not need to be earned through suffering. It is received, reciprocated, and respected, not out of obligation, but out of understanding. The right person will not make you question whether you are enough. They will make you forget that the question ever existed at all.